Welcome to RomWills Money Matters. Location at a vending show. And before I get started, I want to shout out one of my supporters, Vincent Negra 2612, because he had mentioned this on a video a few weeks ago, but I said I'll get to it. And that's location at a vending show. That is very important, because there are vending shows you can go to and you're just in a bad location, because there have been a couple vending shows. I was just in a location people weren't walking by. They like, I was at one vending show, the person giving the show had me way in a corner. People weren't walking over there, but there were plenty of people there. And thankfully, she asked me if I wanted to move. And I did. And sometimes, and I've seen that at plenty of vending shows, because your location is very important. Because sometimes when people come in, they will go to certain places. Like one of the things I would say is sometimes being near the front, like if they got music or something, that can be good, that can be bad. Like if there's somebody always up there, you might not be able to talk to people. But there might be people coming up there, they can see your stuff. It's very important. Like when you come in, it's very important where you see where you're located. Like I give a great example. My book, Nice Guys and Players. I remember the first major vending event I did with it. And I had mentioned this before a few times. I was set up it was a section with a bunch of male exotic dancers. And it was crowded over there. People were coming over there. That was like the main area. And at some point, all of them were taking off their shirts. There's nothing but women over there. Because the women were over there, guys were coming over there, and they were buying my book. Probably like this, get that little bruh man looking down at the women and stuff, and say, yeah, your book can tell me how to get her. Yeah, I was like, yeah, yeah. And that I'm gonna tell you what is very important. Like when you setting up at a vending show, one of the things that you want to pay attention to is where you're located. Shoot, sometimes depending on the show, you might be able to check that out the day before. You want to check out who's around you, who's going to draw people to you, where you at. Like sometimes if you in a corner or something, there simply just might not be too many people to walk there, no matter how many people come through. Because remember, I used the example, okay, you got 1,000 people coming through, 100 stopping at your table, and then selling it to 25. But maybe, what if there's 1,000 people, but you only get 30 people who stop at your table? You're not going to make a lot of money. So it's important where you set up. And if you have to talk to the organizer of the event to move you, do that. In fact, I've seen several times when they will be moved during the show because people just weren't stopping by. Because, yeah, there might be 1,000 people coming through, but you still need those people to walk by your table. You still need to be in a good location. And also, you probably need to be around some other vendors who are getting some attention. Because sometimes, like say if you next to a vendor who has a popular item, you can get people stopping by. Like I remember when I was at the Harlem Book Fair, and I've talked about that before. It was interesting. I had a couple good connections, almost got in a fight. But I was next to a guy on a hot day that was selling lemonade. So there were always people stopping by. And that's probably why I was able to make the couple of connections that I was able to make. But if I was in someplace else, I might not have made those connections. Because it was a hot day. People were coming to get something to drink. And that's very important. That is very important. So you always want to keep that in mind. Your location, where you set up at. Even and I would even suggest if you have a situation like there's been a couple shows where people could come in like real early, like maybe even a day before. You want to look around. Like one of the things I would do, either come in the day before and see where I'm set up at, or be one of the first people and just see where I'm set up at, because that's very important. You want to be in some good locations. Like there was one show I was doing, I was right at the front door. I was right at the front door. And that could be good or bad because sometimes people come through and they want to check out everything else before they buy stuff. So it depends. But at the same time, all these people walking past your stuff, you're the first person they see. So that can go either way, but that's still a decent location. You want to think about wherever. You don't want to be stuck where people aren't walking. People aren't walking. And yeah, you do have some shows like that. You do have some shows like that. But you gotta be is location, location. You want to make sure that you're at a good location. Like I'm gonna tell you what, even a location, and I'll talk about when I had my book stand. When I had my book stand, now that wasn't like a vending show. That was more of a flea market. But my book stand was in a perfect location. People could see it coming out, and people could see it. People could see it coming in rather, and people could see it coming out. I was actually in a great location, so people had to come past. Either way, people had to come past my table or at least see it. That was a great location. That's how I was able to make money. It was the location. Now, if it was like someplace in a corner or something, maybe not. Maybe not. So that's one of the things. That's one of the things. You want to like set up good and have a good relationship with the organizer. In fact, I'll talk about that on a video in a couple weeks. I already got something for next week. But location, location, location is very important. You want to be someplace, well, like using 1,000 example, you need that 100. You need really at least that 100 to walk past your table. And really, if you had a place with 5,000 people, you want 1,000 people to walk past your table. You just want to be in a good location, okay? You always want to keep that in mind. You want to keep that in mind. So anyway, location, location, location. So anyway, that's all I have for today. You know the deal. Let's go make that money.